Hey yo, Steven, aka The Visualizer. Thanks for checking out the video. It's another one in my Journey series. This is episode 21. Today I am going to talk about the Ayahuasca ceremony that I took part in Mount Shasta in May of this year. So this is going to be a long one because I have a lot of detail and probably one of the more interesting videos I'm going to shoot because it's on some completely different shit that a lot of people don't know about. So last episode I talked about how I was called out to Oregon, and through kind of a series of miraculous means I had come up with the money to book all of the flights and get the rental car and everything. I stayed a week in Oregon, and then I had to catch a plane to Sacramento, and then was planning on taking a rental car to drive to Mount Shasta, which was a 3-hour drive away, and Sacramento is one of the closest airports. So I had all this planned out in advance, had everything paid for, and when I left Portland that morning, I had just enough in my checking account to pay for the rental car when I got to the counter, and I had 5 $1 bills in my wallet, and that's all I had left. And I still had to survive 3 more weeks in the Pacific Northwest, basically. So I was like, whatever, again, as I talked about in the previous episode, I had very high hopes for amazing things happening at this retreat, and following it, I had heard stories from people that I trusted from my healing academy that basically their lives turned on a 180 after they had gone to these retreats and really given themselves up and surrendered and just took part in the process and did everything that the facilitators kind of suggested. And that was my plan, because again, I come out to the West Coast for new beginnings, and it was very timely that this retreat that I signed up for 5 or 6 months ago just happened to be in the same month that I was on the West Coast. So I was all in on this thing. I was really going into there trying to have not high expectations, but just expecting something amazing would happen. So I land in Sacramento on a Tuesday morning and roll up to the rental car counter. I had to take a shuttle. It was like a 10-minute shuttle to get to where the rental cars are at the Sacramento airport. And I got there and I was like, oh yeah. I had trouble with my rental car when I first got to Portland, so I was a little kind of like hesitant because timing was a bit tight that day. I needed to be there by 5 p.m. and my flight landed at like 10:30, so I still had a 3-hour drive. So there was a little bit of a window, but I was like, who knows what could happen, because you never know. So I got to the counter, the Hertz rental counter at Sacramento, and I gave them my reservation number, and they were like, oh, there's a problem. We don't have your car here. You've reserved it at another Hertz that's actually in downtown Sacramento. You have to go there to get it. And I was like, okay, do you guys have a shuttle? And they were like, no, that's a completely different thing. We only deal with the airport. You're gonna have to figure it out on your own. And I was like, okay. I was like, give any suggestions? And they were like, no, not really. I don't even know how to get there. Well, thanks for being helpful. So I got back on the shuttle and went back to the airport. And again, all the money I had in my checking account was exactly the amount I needed to pay for the rental car. I had it tallied up and budgeted out, so I couldn't use that to call an Uber. I had $5 in my pocket, so my only option was to take public transportation. So I went and found where that was at and found a bus that would take me relatively close to there, and the bus driver was super helpful. So I hopped on the bus, went into downtown Sacramento, and then walked like 5 or 6 blocks and found the Hertz place. Got in there, I'm like, finally, this fucking has been a little bit of a drawn out thing. So I got to the counter and I was like, hey, and they're like, hey, we have your reservation, you're good to go. Oh, but there's a problem. Because you paid for it with a debit card, we didn't do enough of a hold on money because I paid through a third-party service through Expedia. They only charged $200 for the deposit. And they said if you pay for it with a debit card, they have to hold $500. So that was $300 extra I didn't have. So I'm like, fuck. So I was like, can I downgrade the car somehow to get it to this price? And they were like, that the car that you picked is the cheapest one we have here. So I had to cancel my reservation. And then they were like, hey, there's a Avis down the street that's a lot cheaper than us. They'll probably be able to hook you up. So walked 2 blocks down the street and found this Avis budget car rental. Went in there and I was like, hey, this is how much money I have. Do you guys think you can get me into something today? And they were like, yeah. So they rung me up And I was like, bet, finally, you know, things work out for me all the time. And they were like, the total is $215. And I was like, bet, I got that. And they were like, oh yeah, but we have to hold an extra $200 for a deposit for your debit card. I'm like, fuck. So we're back to square one. So I'm like, oh shit. And so time is running out. It's like, I don't know, 11:30ish, 11:45. So I rolled out of the Avis, and I was just on the street with my luggage. I was trying to think of like what I could do, because like the rental car situation looked like I was out of the blue. I mean, it was out of play. So we had this group chat with all the people that were going to the retreat that hadn't really taken part in much. Again, I didn't know any of these people except for one of them really, and the owner of the academy, you know, I had dealt with a lot of times, so I was very familiar with her. So I just posted in the group chat. I was like, hey, I need a Hail Mary. Like, I'm stuck in downtown Sacramento. My rental car situation fell through. Is there anybody that's like driving up there now or soon that can pick me up? And I was like, this has got to work. This is like the only way I can get there. And I asked my spirit guides, and they were like, yeah, something will happen within 10 minutes. And then like 7 minutes later, I got a hit back, and there was someone that just had landed at the airport, and they were like, yeah, I'm getting my rental car now. I can come scoop you. And I was like, oh, thank God. So she came and scooped me, and then we ended up driving up there with 2 other people, and just had an amazing car ride up there. It was a long ass ride. It was like 3.5 hours from Sacramento to Mount Shasta. Just vibed with everybody. And one of the people that was in the car was actually one of the people that I knew. So it was extra cool to kind of go up there and be comfortable with someone that you had talked to a bunch of times before. And we just vibed immediately, and we're just sharing all kinds of crazy stories about kind of shit that we had been through, and just things that were going on in the universe that kind of only the people that have been spiritually awakened have been kind of told about or have found out. It was like conspiracy 101 talk, but it was cool. They're all down to earth people. We got up there just in time, and we actually got up there at 5:01. The owner, we were the last ones to get in. The owner was like pressing us as we were like getting close, like, where are you guys at? We got to start soon. So again, I went up there to take part in an ayahuasca ceremony. So most people don't know what that is. Ayahuasca is a plant medicine. It's usually given in the form of a drink, like a liquid. It's made out of plants and bark, and it has to be made in a very specific way through ritual to kind of work properly, is what I've been told. So the idea behind it is a hallucinogenic, and it will show you kind of where you were at in comparison to where you're meant to be, and it will force what is known as a purge out of you usually. And people purge in different ways. Most people, they throw up. Some people, it comes out the other end. And then you can also, if you are very skilled and experienced at dealing with this, you can purge in different ways through movement, yoga, crying, a bunch of other more positive things other than throwing up or shitting. So we got there, and the owner kind of told us what to expect or whatever, particularly for people who had never done the ceremony before. And basically is you take a drink, like a small, not even half a cup of this stuff because it's very potent. And then they gave us another medicine called Syrian root before that was meant to kind of like loosen things up and prep us properly. And then we basically were supposed to wait 45 minutes after taking the ayahuasca drink, and then most people would go into their kind of psychedelic state, and they would experience different things, and then usually purge right after that. And then once you did the purge, however much purging you had to do, and you got it out of your system, you were usually good for the rest of the night. And you know, some people then experienced kind of very trippy ass dreams when they went to bed. So that was what they prepared us for. So we did this for 3 consecutive nights, and because of the purging, they recommended that we do a detox before we came there, and that we didn't eat certain kind of foods and eat very lightly. And when we were at the retreat, we weren't really suggested to eat much at all. They only served us breakfast, and we didn't have any other food during the day for those who could handle that, which is most of the people were good with it. Because and again, I had been intentionally fasting because I was out of money to buy food in Oregon the week before, so it worked out perfectly, as all these things normally do for me. So first night I took the ayahuasca, and we were staying in a beautiful Airbnb in Mount Shasta, which is just an amazing area. For those not familiar, Mount Shasta is in Northern California. It's right near the border of California and Oregon, and it is renowned as one of the most powerful spiritual areas in the United States that's known right now. The only other one that's really in comparison is Sedona in Arizona. So there's just an energy in the area that a lot of people gravitate towards, and a lot of unexplained things happen in the Mount Shasta area. You can look that up. So so that night came. We always started the ayahuasca ceremony around 7 p.m. So took my drink, and we're just hanging out in this big room, and people were kind of like all around the estate or whatever. Some people went outside, and people were just chilling, waiting for things to happen. And then, half an hour into it, people started throwing up a lot, and it was like a chain reaction of people throwing up. It was crazy. So everyone had like little buckets that they were provided that we could throw up in. And other people, got really sick, and they like retired to their bedrooms or whatever. I was just chilling. I was in the main room. We had music on. We were vibing. I was just having a conversation with a bunch of the people, getting to know them a little better. And yeah, most people did their purging. And the first night, nothing happened to me. And the facilitators were great. It was the owner and her husband and one other person who works for the academy. They would come by and check on everyone like every 20 minutes or so and just make sure we were doing good. And some people needed like energy healing during the process. So while they were kind of facing their demons, they were doing a little bit of that. That was normally done kind of behind closed doors for privacy. But nothing happened to me the first night. And I talked to the facilitator, the owner, and she was like, yeah, don't worry about it. Like, I channeled your spirit, and they said that was the way it's supposed to happen. We'll take a bigger dosage tomorrow and something will go down. So like, all right, cool. So I went to bed, didn't have any crazy dreams or anything. I woke back up the next morning, and every morning at 10 a.m., we would do like a recap of like what everybody went through. And we found out that one of the ladies that was there were 13 of us in total. She got really sick and was still sick. She was like bedridden. And they were a little worried about her. She couldn't even make it down to like the recap meeting in the morning. She was just throwing up all night and was like high fever and just wasn't feeling well. And everyone else kind of shared stories, and they went from some pretty mundane things where, I had a little vision or whatever and saw some ancestors. And then some people had crazy shit. They were like, I was abducted by aliens and taken up in their spaceship. Other people were like, I warped through a portal and was taken inside Shasta Mountain and met Mother Gaia. And I was like, okay, this is crazy. Like, this is some shit. I'd like to see some crazy shit tonight. And it was cool. Like, everybody told stories about how they like felt like they had grown or whatever. Different things they had experienced, and then they had all the days set up with like activities for us, optional activities. And the next day was a Wednesday. We did some hiking up at this place called Fairy Falls. It was really cool. It was a giant waterfall. I got some amazing photos and videos from there. And then we went to this other place called Headwaters. It's kind of like a park area. And then we checked out the town. They had all these cool like crystal shops and kind of spiritual places where you can get all kinds of different things. And, it was pretty much all women other than 2 dudes, me and one other guy on the retreat. So, women in there shopping, they love it. So they were down there shopping until they drop. Then we got back on that Wednesday, and we did what was called a group healing. So it was basically like, normally when you do energy healing, it's usually like a one-on-one kind of thing where, one person helps you kind of heal yourself. In this situation, they had done something that was very successful at a previous retreat where they let the whole group, and we were all pretty much healers at different levels, kind of work on one person at a time. and people would just kind of jump in as they were called. And basically one person would lay down on the floor in the middle of the room. You would state your intention for kind of what you wanted to heal or grow in at that time, and then things would happen. So I was just observing, because kind of objectively, I was the least experienced healer of the entire group. I kind of like felt really out of place because people were doing some real high level shit around me. So I just did what I could. They had also, we did a lot of sound healing up there. We had sound bowls, drums, different instruments that were like really good. So I basically did sound bowls and drums for the most part during the group healings, when everyone else was doing like Reiki and all kinds of wild ass shit and doing like shaman type stuff. So we started the group healing on Wednesday at like 4:30, because we were told we had to be back at 4 p.m. from all of our optional activities, and we like just barely got back. So we started group healing at 4:30, and the owner was like, yeah, last time this kind of took a while because there was like 16 people that had to go, and each healing took like 20-30 minutes at least. So they were like, yeah, like we're probably gonna end up starting the ayahuasca pretty late tonight. And everybody's like, yeah, that's cool, whatever, we got to do this. It sounds like a good idea. So we did the group healing, and I went third. I was like, let me just get out of the way. And my intention for the day was to heal from all the physical pain I had been feeling, because I was in really rough shape. Like I had bad injuries to both of my feet. I had either a tear or a strain in my rotator cuff and my bicep. My back was killing me. I have this horrible skin condition that was causing a lot of problems. It was just painful to sit and lay anywhere, even on like cushions or beds. So I asked for relief from the pain so that I can kind of be more present in what we were doing at the retreat. Lay down on the floor, close my eyes, and just let them go to town on me. And they were kind of calling out different things, and someone said that they saw like the tear in my bicep, which I didn't even know it was. They were like, yeah, I see like a zipper tear, like going from like almost your elbow to like your shoulder. There's like a pretty bad tear. So they had my psychic spirit guides come in and do what's called psychic surgery on that. And the thing took, I don't know, had to take like 15-20 minutes. I think I was one of the quickest ones because I didn't really ask for as much as everyone else did. Stupid of me for going early, but I wanted to get it over with, and I was in a lot of pain, but that was exactly what I needed at the time. So I got up for the thing, and most of the areas of my body where I was feeling the pain were like immediately feeling better. I was like, damn, this is amazing shit. And then I sat and took part and watched other people have their group healings, and I saw some wild shit. Saw people levitate, bodies contort, people like kind of in trance motions wake up and speak languages that they didn't know. There were so many different things. It was just a amazing, life-changing experience to see all of this stuff kind of in motion, and the real true power of energy healing, particularly when people are doing it as a group. So yeah, we did 16 people, and I would say most of them took at least 20 minutes. So you add up the math there, and it should have been a lot of hours, right? I don't even know what the math is. Let's see, at least 7-8 hours, something like that off the top of my head. So we finished the group healing, and we noticed the sun hadn't gone down yet. We looked at the clock, and it was 6:30. We were like, what the fuck? 2 hours? That's not possible. Like, literally spent so much time with everybody, and we took breaks in between, and it was like only 2 hours had gone by, and this idea popped in my head. I had been reading this book on the plane as well. I can't remember what it's called. It's an e-book on my phone, but it's by Eckhart Tolle, who's pretty well renowned in spiritual circles. And I had gotten to the chapter where he had talked about how time is actually an illusion. And he gave all these examples, but they really didn't resonate with me. But I believe what he was saying was true. He explained it pretty well, but he just didn't have good examples. And I was like, damn, I wish, I remember thinking when I read the book on the plane, this was on my other flight to Sacramento, I had read it, coincidentally. And I was like, I wish there were better examples so I can explain this better to someone else, because it's a pretty big concept. They were talking about how two people would run a race, and obviously one person would get to the finish line first, but the other wouldn't, and they were actually experiencing time at different intervals. Like the clock would actually go slower for the person who didn't get to the finish line first. It didn't really like sit with me. It was like, I don't know, that's a weird example, but he was very compelling in how he explained it, that time only exists when it's combined with space. Space and time are kind of one singular concept, if you will, and clocks are real, but time is not. So again, I can't really explain it well, but the reason I'm getting to that is because I was shown this to be true 2 different times on this day. So yeah, we got done all the group healing. Amazing. People got exactly what they wanted out of stuff, and we're just amazed. And we were all riding a real high. We were like, damn, this is awesome. Like, yeah, crazy. Like, that was an amazing experience to collaborate with people and heal others and see like immediate results for a lot of people. It was good shit. And then the time, like, everybody's like, I don't understand. Like, and some people kind of were hip to it, and they didn't like take it as like it was that weird. But so we did the ayahuasca again at 7 that night. I took a cup again, and then 45 minutes, hour went by, and I still didn't do any purging. And most of the people did purging again, but they found better ways to do it. There was a lot more dancing and movement that night. It was like basically a dance party in the house. I took part in a little bit, and just nothing really purged out. And then most people on the second night took a second dosage of it, and that's like the max that you're supposed to take. So I did that, and I sat for like another hour or so, and then finally had my first purge and threw up a little bit. And it wasn't a whole lot, but I was just like, thank fuck, like finally got it out, because I was the last one to have not purged. And I was like, it was just weird kind of that the medicine wasn't really working on me. But the facilitator was like, don't worry about it. It's just some people have different reactions to it. And during the whole time, both of the first nights, I didn't experience anything psychedelic at all. So that was also weird. She's like, and I was like, yeah, I'm like perfect clarity. Like I'm just chilling here in the room, like vibing out with everyone, having conversations, and like nothing. And she's like, oh, well, that's weird. So it purged out, and then it was early. It was like 9:30ish. And then we went outside. It was a really nice night. We went out to the fire pit, a bunch of us. We got out to the fire pit at like, I don't know, yeah, like 10 o'clock. And there were like 6 or 7 of us out there, and we brought the music out, and it was just good vibes. And we were just telling stories about shit that we just experienced, and other just random topics that came up. We were out there for a minute. And then we had to been out there for like 2 or 3 hours just chilling. And then the owners finally dipped out because they had their own Airbnb down the street. They didn't want to stay with us because, you know, there were not a lot of rooms available. So they dipped out at like 11:15, but it seemed like they were there for way longer. And then we were just chilling by the fire, telling more stories. And then one of the girls came out, and she was from Peru, and we did this stick ritual that was really cool. It was like burning sticks in a certain way and doing like intentions and affirmations. And then we started doing healings on each other out at the fire pit. And we were out there, I don't know, had to be like at least another 2 or 3 hours. The owners left at 11:15 p.m. When we looked up at the clock, it was 12:01. And we were like, what the fuck? And I kept seeing like someone's phone was on the ground. No one was like actively checking their phones because we were just chilling in the moment. But I kept seeing this phone going off on the ground, like someone was getting messages or like alerts or something, notifications. I never paid any attention, but I was the first one to call attention to the time. And I was like, what fucking time is it? Because I wasn't even really tired, but we looked at it and it was like 12:01 or something. And we're like, and everybody's like, no fucking way. Like we had been out here for like 7 or 8 hours. It was a long ass fucking time. And I know like people were like on psychedelics and everything, but I was completely clear, like clear thinking and everything. And we were out there for a long fucking time, and it was only like 3 hours in clock time. And then we started keeping track of the time. So we were like, all right, whatever. Everybody's chilling. A couple people left, and then new people came in. and we were telling him about the time shit, and it was like 12:10. And then we did all this other shit, and like we had this long ass discussion. These two girls were kind of going back and forth on this like spiritual concept. And then we did more healings on each other. And it was cool. It was just a great experience, kind of like seeing different things happen like naturally, organically. And eventually we had to been out there for another 2 hours. We checked the time and it was 12:30. It was literally 20 minutes went by, and we're like, bro, the time is fucked up out here. There's something crazy going on. This is like the time dilation, that the fact that time is just a concept of your mind and can be manipulated. And eventually we were out there for like another 2 hours, and I made a joke. I was like, yeah, I would figured it had to been like 2 a.m. at the time. And I was like, I made a joke. I was just getting a little bored because it kind of slowed down. Everybody's just kind of being quiet because it's getting late. I was like, yeah, I'm going to get to bed before it gets to 1. And everybody's like, check what time it is. It was 12:59. We all just cracked the fuck up. But that was the clearest example of time is not real that anyone could ever see. Literally, we spent like 9 hours out at this fire at night, and only like 4 hours went by. It was nuts. So went to sleep, woke up the next morning, and then Thursday we had the option to go to what's known as a sweat lodge, and it was this Native American kind of ritual. It was like a sauna on steroids, basically. So everybody decided to go. Basically, there's this kind of very small hut that they had set up that could fit a bunch of people in it, but the ceiling was really low. They did like this kind of ritual beforehand, and then everyone would sit in this hut in a circle, and in the middle was like a fire pit, and they would they had these volcanic rocks that they took from the top of Mount Shasta that they would go get pretty regularly, is what they told us. And they would like heat up the rocks outside, and then someone would bring them into the hut, and I was actually chosen to be the rock bringer. So I basically scooped them with a pitchfork, dropped them in the middle of the hut, and then the Native Americans who ran the ceremony, they coated them in some special medicine, and then they would like throw a special type of like liquid onto them that would steam the whole hut, and it got hot as fuck in there. And we did like 4 rounds of this where they were doing like chanting and doing all these other things, and it's supposed to purge you from inside out. Not only just the sweat from being in like a sauna situation, but it would just purge you spiritually. And everyone had like an amazing time. It was super tough. Some people really had to get through their fears of like claustrophobia, being in kind of almost absolute dark. And then the heat was a bit much. Some people had to kind of get out and take breaks, and some people just didn't want to go back in. But I stayed back in the whole time, and I collected the rocks and brought them into the hut every one of the 4 rounds. That was cool, taking kind of special part in that. Yeah, and that was crazy. Intense situation, being in heat that much. But everyone was just beaming, kind of getting out of there. They were like, yeah, that was like a really cool experience to take part of. Some people kind of felt it immediately. Like, damn, like I feel so much better, and I feel more clarity into things. I didn't really feel much different, but the vibes are good. And then we went back into the town again on Thursday, and then Thursday night we did the last ayahuasca ceremony. So this time I took 2 cups again, still didn't purge. And then during the other nights, the owner actually had this special like blend of mushrooms that she got from her supplier up there. And some people were taking them along with the psychedelics, kind of make them stronger. And when I didn't purge after the 2nd cup, she was like, yeah, do you want to take any mushrooms? And I was like, yeah, let's do it. Because I had yet to have like a psychedelic experience. And like as soon as I took one of the mushroom capsules, I tried to wash it down with water. I immediately purged, but I did it in the most dramatic way. I like projectile vomited like 10 feet across the room and almost hit people. It was like a scene from the old Exorcist movie. If you've ever seen that old ass movie where the chick's head is spinning and she's like barfing everywhere. It was like a steady stream. It was disgusting, but it was hilarious. People were like freaked out, and then we're all just cracking up. And I was like, I didn't even know it was possible to fucking throw up that much and in that way. But I was glad that I had such a big purge, because the day before wasn't much. So yeah, I ended up cleaning up all my shit. They were like, I'll clean it up for you. I was like, nah, man, that's my throw up. Let me like clean all this shit up. So got the paper towels and a mop out, got all that shit up, and then I went in the bathroom and I purged even more in the toilet, and I was like, all right, cool. Like, that means I'm getting a lot of shit out. But I didn't experience any psychedelic anything, because the mushrooms came right up. It was like, almost like the universe was like, nah, you're not supposed to be in that. You're supposed to be clear for this whole thing. That was the gist that I got from it. And then yeah, we're just vibing for the rest of the night and just telling stories and just getting to know people better and seeing how they were doing. And this one woman that I vibe with a lot, that we had a lot of conversations, I had told her kind of like the crazy uncertainty that I was in, going back to Portland after this, because it basically didn't have much money left. I had the money from the rental car that I didn't spend since I got the carpool up there, and she actually like went to her room and came back and gave me like $100 bill out of nowhere, and I didn't say anything. I just, you know, she didn't say anything. I just thanked her for that. And then I had all kinds of crazy bills hit while I was up there, and it drained my checking account. So the money that I had set aside for the car rental was pretty much completely gone. So it pretty much left me, when I left, with only the $100 bill from the lady that she gave me. So it was meant to be. So Friday came, and then we all checked out pretty early, and the same people that drove me up drove me back to the airport. And the crazy part is, like, what I was told before from people who had gone on this kind of retreat is, like, as soon as you leave the retreat, there's kind of this timing element, and if, you know, you do what you need to do up there, things will change in your favor, like, immediately. And like, that was kind of pitched like on the first night we got there, and they were telling stories about things that had happened to people. We're like, oh yeah. And so I was in the car with 3 people again, driving back to the airport, and one of them was the person that I knew before coming here, and she actually had another trip planned later in the month to go to Costa Rica, but it costs a grip, and she actually was trying to do things to get like her local government to pay for it, because she is like a healer in the community that's recognized almost like medically. She lives in Arkansas. She put through like all these requests for like grants or something so that she can get this kind of shaman training in Costa Rica, and they were hardballing her and we're like, nah, we're not going to do this for you. And as we were driving back on the to the airport from Shasta to Sacramento, she got an email from the government saying, we're going to pay for the whole trip and give you like a stipend for like your daily activities and shit. So it was like crazy, the timing of it, like something that she had been fighting for them for like 2 or 3 months immediately popped, like as we were driving back from the retreat. And then another woman was she was a hairdresser in Washington, and she had been going back and forth trying to purchase this real estate to start up her own kind of healing studio, and had run into all these blocks and things. And then she got an email on the drive back that everything had gotten approved. So it was like crazy shit. And I'm like, where's mine? Like, what's gonna happen to me? And nothing ended up happening on the drive back. And I was like, all right, whatever. Maybe like something will happen after I land on the plane, because I was pretty much shit out of luck. Like I was not really anxious, because I was still on a high from like all the cool shit that happened at the retreat. But reality was setting in, and it was like, I got this plane ride back to Portland, and I literally have barely enough money to like get a hotel for one night, and that's it. And then I still have 2.5 weeks that I have to be in the Pacific Northwest. So what am I going to do? And that's where I'll leave it, since we're not really long. So hopefully you enjoyed the story of my ayahuasca ceremony in Mount Shasta. Next time we're going to talk about the crazy stuff that happened when I got back to Portland. So thanks for rocking with me. Peace, love, and light.